If you're trying to hire a creative strategist for $2K a month, you're probably not even hiring a strategist. You're hiring a junior marketer with a fancy title. So then you ask, what should this person actually cost? Well, in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what a good creative strategist actually costs, what different prices usually mean, and how to think about ROI so you don't cheap out on one of the most important hires on your marketing team. For context, I spent the last 5 years running a performance creative agency where we helped over 100 8- and 9-figure DTC brands create better creatives. And I personally interviewed over 500 creative strategists, and we've hired over 100 different team members for our agency and for our clients. And we've seen exactly what separates a really good creative strategist versus one who just has the title. So point number one, the cheapest creative strategist usually isn't cheap. So a lot of brands will try to hire at the lowest possible price, maybe $1,500 a month, maybe $3K a month. And on paper, that sounds efficient. But the problem is a cheap hire can cause expensive problems in the long run, because ultimately they may only know how to produce ads that look good, but they don't actually know how to produce ads that print money, that actually scale, and they don't actually know how to produce winners. They may not know how to read ad data. They may not even know how to produce a good hook. They may just do basic competitive research, or they may only produce like generic concepts, right? But if you really want a killer, someone who's actually good at ad creative, you want to invest in that. So even though you're technically saving money on salary, you're losing money on bad ads that don't scale and ultimately waste your ad spend. So the real question isn't how little can I pay? The real question is, can this person produce actual winners that scale ad spend and make your brand money? So before we move on to the second step, I just want to give a quick reminder that if you want to learn how to hire a great creative strategist or build an awesome in-house creative team for your ecom brand, make sure to subscribe to our channel. So point number two is what different cost ranges usually mean. Now, at the lower end, you're typically going to get someone who's junior. Now, they might be hungry and they might be coachable, but they're going to need a lot of direction. And they probably won't be able to own the whole creative strategy process alone. Now, in the mid-range, you're going to get someone with some real experience. They may have worked in the agency or a brand, they understand testing, they understand how to write briefs, and they can manage parts of the creative workflow, but they're still mid. Now at the higher end, you're working with someone who's seen what works across multiple brands. They understand offer positioning, customer psychology, ad account feedback loops, reader briefs, landing page alignment, and how to build a creative testing system. These guys have produced ads that have spent over 100K. They've worked at multiple different brands for X amount of years. They're killers. They're really good at what they do. And that is the person who can actually become a growth lever. Point number three, a great creative strategist isn't just coming up with ad ideas. This is where a lot of founders misunderstand the role. A good creative strategist is not someone who just says, let's just make a UGC ad about this product benefit. What they should really be thinking about is they should really be asking questions like, why are the ads working versus failing? Which angle should we be testing next? What are the competitors doing? What do our customers actually care about? How do we turn our data into new creative concepts? How do we brief designers, editors, and creators? And how do we build a repeatable creative testing system? If the person can only generate ideas, but can't connect those ideas to performance, they're not really a strong creative strategist. So point number four, the ROI math changes everything. Let's actually do the math here, right? So let's say you have two brands. You have brand A, you have brand B. Okay, both brands are spending 100K per month, right? They're spending 100K per month on ads, and one has a junior creative strategist who is getting them a 1.2 ROAS, right? And then one, brand B, has a senior creative strategist who's a killer, who's really good at producing ads, and he gets them a 5 ROAS, right? So both spending 100K per month, 1.2 ROAS, 5 ROAS. So basically what that means, after running the junior creative strategist ads, he makes 120K. But the senior creative strategist, who's killer at producing ads, he gets a 5 ROAS. So they make $500,000. So if you look at the difference there, 120K versus 500K, that's $400,000 additional, more than $400,000 additional between a junior creative strategist and a senior creative strategist. Now, like we said, a junior creative strategist, you might pay them like 2 to 3K per month. A senior creative strategist, you might pay them like 6 to 8K per month. So you might be paying them 5K extra, but that 5K extra makes you $400,000. So you tell me, Is it worth it? 5K versus 400K. It's a huge difference, right? So that's why hiring a good creative strategist is so important, because the ROI is insane. Your creative strategist has the ability to make your brand money. They are truly the rainmaker in your business. So skimping out on a creative strategist is the worst decision you can ever do. So point 5 is what you should actually look for. So instead of hiring based on price, look for proof. You want someone who's worked at reputable DTC brands, understands paid social, understands paid ads, can show examples of ads they've produced, can show examples of ads that they've worked on, and can explain why those ads performed. You also want someone who can talk through their process clearly. You want to ask, how do they do research? How do they find angles? How do they brief creatives? How do they analyze winners versus losers? How do they communicate with media buyers, editors, founders? And if they can't explain their thinking, they probably can't lead the function. Point number 6, the best hire is expensive up front, but it's cheap long term. So a great creative strategist may feel expensive at first, but if they can produce winners, if they can scale your brand, if they can help you make money, they become one of the highest leverage hires in the business. The wrong person costs less on payroll, but more everywhere else. The right person costs more on payroll, but creates leverage across the whole marketing team. So if you're hiring a good creative strategist, don't just ask what they cost. Ask, can this person help me scale my business faster? Because if the answer is yes, then the cost looks very different. Hiring a creative strategist sounds simple, but then you're 3 months in, you're buried in bad applicants, you're wasting interviews on people who are just not good, and you're still stuck doing the creative thinking yourself. That's why my team and I help DTC brands and agencies find vetted creative strategists in 1 to 2 weeks. People with actual performance creative experience, people with proven ad results, people with the actual ability to scale your ads. And if you want more videos on how to find, vet, and hire great creative strategists and build your dream in-house creative team that's ultimately going to scale your brand, subscribe to the channel and then watch this video next.